Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Killjoys. So basically, this episode, which was a very good episode, it dealt with basically the backlash of what Johnny did. Finally got the answers to all that stuff. Cause I was wondering, I was like, okay, so does no one know about this whole Delcia situation? And it's like, of course they don't. Cause I had thrown that out there before. It's like, did the others actually not know? Cause it hadn't come up in conversation or anything. It's like, I was like, how would you not know? But then I was like, oh, well, since Delcia is with Anila, maybe they don't know. I figured like maybe Anila found her and picked her up. It's like, no, Delcia found her way to her. But it's like, it's all hush and hush because you would think like Johnny going after her. And that's the thing too, is like Johnny came back to the quad and everything, and you would think he wouldn't with everything, but I guess he felt like it was kind of okay with I mean, I guess because he also thought Delcia was dead, so maybe he didn't really think about, I mean, he wasn't probably, I mean, Johnny's smart, so I guess he really wouldn't have, you would think he would know about any recordings nearby, but at the same time, maybe he didn't care. I mean, he's so focused on revenge and everything, but that comes to light, and everyone's like, wait, why didn't you tell us that you were going after Delcia? It's like, the reason why I didn't tell you because I knew you guys would stop me, you know? So that combined with a lot of other, you know, having to deal with that, like a warrant, a level 5 warrant is out for Johnny, but it's not for Johnny dead, it's Johnny captured. Because, in fact, Delcia had brought it up before, like, she knows Dutch's weakness, and that weakness is, you know, Davin as well as Johnny, but more specifically Johnny. So that's what this whole thing was about, getting him to kind of draw Dutch in, use him as bait, essentially. But luckily, thanks to Pre, none of that really worked out, which we kind of learn a little bit more about Pre in his kind of quote-unquote criminal days, is him being on this planet known as Oron, where he basically, with these people known as the Farron, they're like top tier, like outlaws and stuff like that, which he was the leader of the Farron at one point in time. He was with this other Farron named Lachlan. They were together and everything, but now it turns into the situation where Lachlan's like, yeah, you're back and everything. Yeah, I want you dead. It's like, what? Okay. And then Dutch talks to him, okay, we can work this all out. Let's work together. It's like, okay, we can work together and everything, but the only way we're going to be good to the point we could work together is if Pre is dead. Oh, you want me to look after Johnny too? Sure. That can all be settled when Pre is dead. It's like, I mean, he's like, oh, this is the law and everything, but more so than anything, it's kind of what Dutch brings up. And it's something that basically rings true. It's like, yeah, I'm pissed at you because you broke my heart. You left me. I mean, because we still don't really know how Pre really got there in the first place. I mean, we did find out why he left, because that was something that was kept being missing. It's like he just up and left, sure, but it's like, why? Kind of explains that later on, because Lachlan loved him and would do anything to protect him, and it's like, I know you were going to do that, so I couldn't have you sacrificing your life for me, so I had to go so that you could rise and become the next leader, because as the leader, you wouldn't be in any danger anymore. There'd be other people there to protect you. Basically, you know, Pre looked at as like, I was your weakness. I was what was, you know, putting your life in danger because I loved you. You know, and I love how that whole situation is settled, because even later on Dutch is like, okay, so you're not going to take Pre's life? It's like, no, don't worry, it's all settled. It's like, how'd you fix the whole situation? Yeah, I had to put out a lot. It's like, well, that's an interesting way to settle the situation. It's like, okay, how do we settle this? Oh, let's let's have crazy amounts of sex. That's, well, crazy to me. It's like, I mean, hey, whatever works, right? The fact is that they did love each other, so it's not like it meant nothing. It meant something. It's just all the time they've been away from each other. It's like that passion flaring a little bit more. It does bring up the question with the whole Garrett situation too, which is kind of interesting, because you see Garrett talking, and even Dutch is like, wait, Garrett's in the bar, but didn't I break his leg? Side note, let's not forget Potter rebroke his leg when he tried to like steal medicine from her at knife point, you know. And then Pre later on stabbed him in the hand. It's like, oh, what, you know, what? Pre's like, don't worry, he's okay. Like, he just had some anger issues. He kind of dealt with that, you know. And now he's a lot calmer and everything, not wanting to be as violent as much. And even Davin asked him about it later. He's like, so you and Pre? He's like, dude, I don't know. That dude's just so uptight. He doesn't really let anything show, so I don't know where we stand. And Davin's like, yeah, no, Johnny didn't even tell me that he tried to kill one of the 9. It's like, and they both said it's some dudes. I just thought that was kind of a nice moment. I appreciate just like such a small character coming back in a very interesting way like that. You know, just because he seemed like such an insignificant character. Oh, he took over Pre's bar, you know, after the whole like attack on Old Town and everything. So it's kind of like you thought he was just a throwaway character from that one particular episode. It's like, no, he's back. And that was just kind of interesting. Maybe that means we'll see him more going forward. So, but what I also appreciated in this episode, for one, was the whole trial situation. I appreciated that because basically it led to Johnny and Dutch finally having their heart to heart. Him and Johnny and Davin have kind of had theirs a little bit, especially last episode where Davin was like, yeah, Johnny, you messed up, you left, and this is what it's like to come back. And, you know, basically one of those trials obviously was the whole truth thing and made them kind of confront a lot of stuff that they weren't willing to ever admit to themselves or as well as say in general. I mean, for one, Johnny was pissed because it's like, yeah, you try to protect me from becoming a level 5. But for her, it's like, being a level 5, there's a lot of dirty work that comes with it. Level 5 means you're able to take out kill warrants and take on kill warrants and stuff like that. And killing someone in cold blood is not an easy thing. Like, you could say, Johnny can make the argument about the whole Del Seiya situation of how he did it. Granted, at the time, he didn't know he didn't succeed. But the thing is, like, that was a situation it was a different situation because you were motivated to kill her. It's like, what if a situation just calls for you, the job calls for you to kill somebody? Can you just do that in cold blood? Like I said, there are varying different degrees. Yes, the whole Del Seiya situation was still in cold blood, but it was still it was a different spectrum of it. And it's like, that you don't know what kind of line of work Killjoy, would get where it's like, oh, you need to outright kill this person. It's like, have they anything, like, yeah, they might have done something bad, but it's like, this was something bad that was done to Johnny personally, to someone that he loved and cared for. So, like I said, there's a difference there. But, so Dutch wanted to protect him from that life because she didn't want him to end up like her. It's like, she was trained to kill, and it's like she didn't want to bring, Johnny, the dude that she cares about, because once again, like, Johnny's the heart of the team. I brought this up last episode. It's like he's the heart and soul of the team, and Davin's got his issues. Dutch has definitely got her issues, but it's like Johnny's the one who definitely got issues, but he's the lighthearted one of the team. He's the bright light in that kind of shroud of darkness. That's why, like, and it's something Sabine brought up last season. It's a reason why she was like, oh, why you latch on to the Jacoby brothers so much. It's because they love with their hearts so much. They're not just kind of cold and calculated, as she kind of lumps herself and Dutch together in that same sense because of the whole Holland and Klein situation. But nevertheless, so obviously, she doesn't want Johnny to become like it, wants to stay him, I mean, and she has a right to be worried like that. But it also brought up some other things too, because it's like, oh, you talk about not wanting me to get revenge, but it's like, that's what this whole thing is about. This whole thing is about getting revenge on Anila, because it's like everything that you went through is because of Anila, inadvertently. And it's like, this is all so that you can show Daddy Klein that you're the best, that you're better than her in some shape or form, which even Dutch was willing to admit. It's like, yeah, that is true to a certain extent. So even almost bringing up also bringing up the fact is that the whole Zeph situation, still kind of bugged about that. It's like, you guys kind of basically replaced me. It's like, you left. It's like, I was going to come back. You killed Del Seiya. That's why you ran. It's like, yes, once again, we understand why you were hurting and everything. You didn't tell us, you didn't explain to us why you left, because they just chalked it up to like, oh, he's sad about Potter. He needed some space. It's like, she's like, I gave you your space, and if you had told us, yes, they might have stopped him, give and take. I mean, the truth of the matter is, Del Seiya would have needed to be taken out of the equation anyway. As we can see, like, where she stands right now, it's like she's not, I mean, it makes you wonder, this whole Holland situation, where she stands now. Where would the other members of the 9 stand on her position, knowing what she's become and what she represents, like the coming of the Holland and them trying to wipe out everyone else? It makes you wonder, like, what would that mean for people, or like, how would they feel about it? Or would the 9 leap at the opportunity because it's like, oh, we have longer lifespans and stuff like that, we can remain in power for a long time, I'm sure. I mean, much like how it seemed tantalizing for Del Seiya, who's to say it won't be the same way for the other 9? I mean, we've never actually really met and got to know the other 9. Del Seiya is the only one we've kind of ever gotten a look at. So, but hopefully not all the other 9 are like her, but you kind of have this feeling like at least they're moderately like her to some extent, But once again, all wanting to protect Johnny. Dutch is like, I didn't want you to come back. And I was like, oh, that's kind of hard for her to say. But it's like, no, I didn't want you to come back because I didn't want you getting dragged back in all of this. The fact that you were away, that's fine and dandy because that meant you were as far away from this as possible. That, hey, if you did come back, it'd be after it was all said and done. You wouldn't be caught up in this war and everything. So, but luckily, with everything said and done, things are settled. The Farron are there on Dutch's side. She's got more people on her side for her army. That whole lady, IA lady for the rack, going after Johnny like this, like she's still trying to fish. She's trying to understand what this is all about. But obviously, Team Awesome is trying to keep hush hush about the whole like Holland thing because it's like, well, because they don't know who to trust. This is the day and age where it's like, how do you know who you can trust and everything? Enemies could be around any corner. Anyone could be Holland at any point in time. At the same time, it's also because it's like, if she finds out and she reports it to the wrong person, even if she's not neck deep in all of this, someone higher up in the rack might be too. Because the fact is, most of the rack has been cleared simply because most of the people who were sixes were Holland. The Holland inside of them died with the whole like Klein and Arkin situation. But if they got their Holland, their green slime from outside of Arkin, then it's a different story. So that's her main reason for kind of keeping her at a distance. I still, because even she's like, like I said, she's still trying to figure things out, but she's not trying to give any leeway because Davin presented her evidence. It's like, look, Delsea walked away. It's like, oh, but who's to say your brother didn't come back and finish him? Which is like, okay, sure, but you gotta admit, things look a little fishy. The fact is, even with that particular situation, she didn't just like immediately call for backup. The reason she just disappeared, and you don't think that's a little weird considering it's Delsea, like she's one of the nines? Shouldn't there have been a bigger issue before now? Because it's only now that Johnny's kind of back in the picture has this happened. But it's like, before now, like, there was nothing said about Johnny, so. But then again, Delsea was probably still in the recovering process of becoming Holland and everything. I mean, the process takes a while, so. But I mean, it seems like Johnny has been going a while, but semantics, I guess. But what I also appreciate about this episode was the moments between Zephyr and Davin of like, okay, trying to tap into the green slime to find Delsea, and then she's like, okay, since I can't zap you, maybe you can, get a good smell of Delsea or something. It's like, oh, you want me to get high and then sniff her panties? It's like, do you have any around here? He's like, Zephyr, we're gonna have to talk to you. It kind of explain jokes to you, but taps into it and gets to see what Delsea sees, and she meets with the dude who Delsea is talking to, the dude that really doesn't like her. And he's like, oh, yeah, he basically was like, oh, you put that warrant out for Johnny? Yeah, I cut that out because why? That draws too much attention because there's like too many inconsistencies with that. Like I said, it came out of nowhere, so that raised too many red flags for them and stuff like that. So it's like, we'll shut that down for now. It's like, oh, yeah, enjoy your time with Anila. Oh, she likes you and everything now. Yeah, but Anila does that a lot. She likes things, and then she eventually gets bored and breaks those things that she likes. So she's basically a child that gets easily, as we've seen, easily bored as well as easily pissed off. So she is very much like a child at this point in time. But what's kind of interesting is that she was able to see Davin, and Davin made a comparison to like Klein too, and it's like, he's like, you can see me, and she's like, oh, who are you? What did my daddy do to you? And it's like, dude, because it also shows you on what kind of level she is too, because all she did was kind of blow a kiss, but obviously that was a whole like obviously it looked like a simple like blowing a kiss, but it represents just like how powerful she is. She was able to push Davin's mind away from her, so just showing you just how powerful she is. So the war is locked and loaded. It's like, they both, Dutch has got her eyes set on Anila, Anila's got her eyes set on Dutch. And at the same time, Johnny's got his eyes set on Delsea now that he knows that she's still alive. It's like, I'm ready for us to go around too. So luckily, everyone seems to be somewhat firing on all cylinders. Kind of everyone's on the same page, at least, on Team Awesome. Like I said, Dutch and Johnny kind of worked out their issues, so she won't be babying him anymore. Like, not in her words, holding any more punches, because the fact of the matter is, this is war now, and Johnny has proven himself, you know. So she's like, I just gotta believe in Johnny, like, have his back like he's had mine, you know. We're into this, and we're in this together. So yes, there's still the whole issue with him and Zephyr, but yeah, you know, only, you know, one thing at a time, I guess. So. And I do appreciate this look we got into Pre's past. I'm sure we're going to get more going into the future. I'd hope so, because we still don't know everything. Is this exact, like, because they referenced it in the opening, because obviously last season we learned about the whole, like, Warlord thing. Was this specifically the whole Warlord thing it was referencing, or are we talking about a whole other issue in itself? I would assume so, since they referenced that specifically, but maybe that's, you know, all the stuff they cut together was like, oh yeah, you know, you act like you don't have skeletons in your closet, so one of many skeletons in Pre's closet. He's still an enigma. So, like I said, I am definitely interested to see if we'll see any more of Garrett kind of running around Pre's place or not. So the team is locked and loaded. The next episode, it seems like what we're going to do first is to make sure everything's back in order. We're taking down the rack in the sense of like we're cleaning house. We're making sure where all the hauling are, and we're taking them out. So maybe we'll have the IA lady finally figuring out the truth, like finally finding out like, oh, this is what this is all about. So I wonder, are the Farron the only people that she's going to get on her side? I'm sure she's still going to need, even with the Farron, I'm pretty sure like the numbers are still not in their favor, like with the army that Anila has amassed. I mean, who's to say how powerful Anila is on her own too? Like, it seems like she's kind of in a league all her own. Like, as we saw, like she is very vicious, and I'm sure like she's just as well trained as Dutch, probably even more so, because she's had a very, very long time to be who she is. So also we ended up finding out that thing that Klein left that they found last episode, it seems like it's I would assume what looked like it might be Davin's blood mixed with some green gel. I don't know if that was it, or maybe it was the drink she had prepared for Davin she just randomly mixed with it. I don't know. I think it might be that, because that's what let Davin kind of do what he needed to anyways, like mixing what she made with him to get him high, and the green slime, that's what kind of helped him unlock his mind. So maybe that's what it was. Maybe it wasn't specifically Davin's blood. Like I said, a very good episode, and I'm very interested to see what goes down in the next episode. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.